Hey everyone, it's Scarlett Lewis, founder of the Jessie Lewis Choose Love movement. I'll wait till a few of you arrive. Hey, thanks all of you for joining. It's great to see you. I really appreciate it. We're going to learn a lot today. We don't have that much time together, but we're going to do this over the course of the next month. 3 more times. We're going to get through the whole formula for choosing love and how that is associated with self-care, because it really is. It is a method for it. It is a method that can give us our personal power back and allow us to choose love over fear. And there's never been a better time for that. Oh, I love seeing all of you joining. Hey, Mary Liz, thank you. We're trying to stay safe here. Love everybody joining from all over. Really, really appreciate you. Thanks so much. So again, this is Scarlett Lewis, the founder of the Jessie Lewis Choose Love movement. And today we're going to talk about self-care. I have a few notes up on my slide, so you might see me referencing them in a moment. But truly, truly, this is a brave new world. That's what I've been calling it. I did a Facebook Live with my mom, happened to walk into the room the other night, and I was asking her if she's ever experienced anything like this in her life. And she said, absolutely. And so it's really a brave new world for all of us. And I think what we're realizing is that we're all in this together. I mean, we have to put our oxygen mask on first. And, oh, I've heard that. Everyone's heard that, right? But have you ever really thought about why? I do a lot of flying, and sometimes I fly with JT. And so when you really think about that, we don't even pay attention, but it's so important, because if you think about it, if there's an emergency on a plane, okay, and you're fiddling with your child's oxygen mask, but at the same time you're being depleted of oxygen, what's going to happen? You are going to start to panic. And then you're not going to be able to put on your child's oxygen mask or your own. And so that's really what we mean by that. And I think it's so vitally important. We have to practice self-care. And we're going to go through over the course of the next 4 weeks how to use the Choose Love formula to do just that. It's a method to taking your personal power back. And by the way, it is the most powerful method that I have ever come across. And now it has gone way beyond what I ever imagined in the beginning. I really wanted this to be in schools. It's in schools in every single state in the country. Several states have Choose Love being taught more than any other program. It's in homes. And all you parents out there, please, please, especially if you have younger kids, check out our Choose Love at Home program. It's awesome. There's short, fun videos that you guys can watch together. And we've got great downloadable resources, dinner conversations. It's exactly what you're looking for right now. And it's 100% free. We have Choose Love for communities. We're in police departments. We are in governmental agencies, prisons. It's absolutely incredible. And so we're going to be talking about this method. And you know, when we're all born, we're born with this invisible tool belt, okay? So we don't see it, but we all have it on. The tool belt never changes, but the tools that we put in our tool belt definitely change. We start putting them in right away. What works? Crying. Crying's a tool for getting what we want. Maybe we never get rid of that one, but we do get rid of some that don't serve us when we get older. And then we start putting new tools in, right? This formula for choosing love is going to be one of the most powerful tools that you've ever put in your toolbox, and you are going to be using it for the rest of your life. You will have it in your tool belt. You may not always use it, but you will have it for the rest of your life. A lot of this is just awareness, but it is also skills and tools that we're not born with. We actually have to learn. And here's the thing. We all have a negative bias that is woven into our DNA. We're actually born with it. It's why, let's just go back to when, when the world was as we knew it, right? Even then, the majority of our thoughts were negative and repetitive. because that's how we're wired. Our brains are wired for survival. They are not wired for happiness. That is our job. And so that's what we're going to be talking about. And maybe if not happiness, at least peace. And that's our goal here. So our goal is ultimately to choose love over fear, right? Our message, and that is our base message, has never been more important than now. And today we're going to be talking about the most important character value of the formula for choosing love. They're all so important. However, and there are only four, so it's going to take 4 weeks for us to go through this, but the most important one, and the one that underlies all the rest and almost everything that we do on a daily basis, whether we know it or not, is courage. And today we're going to be going over courage, and we're going to be submersing ourselves in this. Now, if you've already heard me speak and you've been teaching this, I see a lot of teachers on there. Hello. Shout out to our teachers who are our superheroes. They were our superheroes in our original world, but in this brave new world, oh my gosh, do we love you and appreciate you even more? Don't we love and appreciate so many people even more? So yesterday, I actually did a podcast that's going to be released in about a week or so with Cynthia Germanata. Some of you may know her better as Lady Gaga's mom. It was really awesome. I don't know if you knew, I didn't know she's the global ambassador for mental health for the World Health Organization. And I love how she was talking about social distancing, right? Because we all need connection. In fact, a lot of the issues that we're experiencing in our world, in our schools, in our homes, that translate into our schools, that translate into our communities, is lack of connection. And that's what social and emotional intelligence teaches. That's what we're going to be talking about today. But connection is so important. And actually, one of the things that COVID-19 is providing for us is a greater sense of connection as a society. I mean, did you really spend a lot of time about thinking of the supply chain before? I didn't. I ran to the grocery store, grabbed stuff, but now I'm thinking, wow, it's really important that we keep those farmers healthy, really important that we keep the supply line people healthy, the truckers. When I hear the trucks on 84, which runs through Sandy Hook, I'm thinking, wow, those truckers, that means that those goods, maybe food and other necessities, are getting to where they need to be. Did you know that grocery store workers were essential workers? Wow, now they are, and they are superheroes. JT's girlfriend, shout out to Sophia, she works in a grocery store, and her job is incredibly important. So we're realizing, wow, you know what? We don't live in a vacuum. We rely on a lot of people. And you know what? That's really good, because that gratitude that we feel for people makes us feel connected. So what she was saying about talking about social distancing. So obviously that's not a great thing. We are social animals. Connection is love. Connection literally means love. And when you have lack of connection, you have lack of love in your life. And so I love the words that Cynthia used for social distancing. Instead of saying that, she called it physical distancing, but socially connected. And I really would love for all of us to start talking about that, right? Physically distancing, but socially connected. We need each other. And, you know, it's time that we admitted it. And I think that ultimately I am on my knees every morning praying to God, because I have a strong faith, and I literally am. And it's time for that. Praying for the people who are suffering. And there's so many kinds of sufferings that are going on out there. But at the same time, there are going to be benefits to this. And it's really important that we can think about those benefits. We're we're realizing now how connected we are and how much we need each other. And I think that's really going to help our world. The other way that I want you to think about this, I've heard a lot of the terminology social isolation being used. And rather than using the word isolation, I'd rather us use solitude. Isn't that a much better visualization? And actually, all of us need a little bit of solitude. There's a tribe in Africa, and they're nomadic. And so they travel all the time, and they literally just set up camps. So they, every 3 days, they stop and they set up a camp. And when asked, why do you stop every 3 days? Why don't you just keep going, especially if you're getting food? They said that that third day allows their souls to catch up to their bodies. Wow. I love that. And so maybe we could think of this as a time, if you're in your house and you're experiencing some solitude, think of it as a time for our souls to catch up to our bodies. The other thing that is about self-care is creating a peaceful home. And one of the ways that we do that, and I have to admit, I'm not that good at it, JT will definitely tell you that, is listening to hear, right? Not the majority of the time we're listening to respond. I know that I'm doing that. I'm listening and I'm formulating a response right up here while I'm listening. That means I'm only using a portion of my listening skills. Really listen to understand. This is a great time to get to know one another again when we're all having to be together. Listen to what people are telling you. I had to start doing that with JT, and it was wonderful, and I appreciated it, and I learned a lot from it, and I think that our relationship got a lot better. So listen to hear, not respond. And also the important thing is to keep a routine as much as possible. I'm not a real routine person, so I'm saying this, but keep in mind, I mean, especially with my travel schedule that I have, it's really hard for me to keep a routine. But for those of you at home, and I'm home now too, as much of a routine as possible that you can keep for your kids. Routine means safety to kids. So try to do things at around the same time, have a routine during the evening for bath time and bed and school and things like that. You can make it routine. And the number one thing probably is just to validate everybody's feelings. I'm not here to say it's not scary, right? Because I am, I get, like, I wake up in the morning, and you know, when you forget, you wake up and you're like, oh, another day. And I always start my days out with gratitude. And then I remember about the virus, and I get that pit in my stomach. I don't know if you've ever got that when you broke up with a boyfriend or something in high school. It's the worst feeling in your stomach. And then I remember, and I'm like, oh. And that's when I start to pray. Then I've done what I can do. And then I go out and I try to serve in the best way that I can. And I can tell you, at the Jessie Lewis Choose Love movement, we're all doubling down in service, trying to find ways that we can help. We've been live streaming Choose Love classes into homes. And we just put out an educator newsletter, by the way, for educators and parents, with all sorts of links and resources. So I know that you guys will definitely find that. Thank you guys so much for all the hearts. I love that. Okay, but today we're going to be talking about courage. And do you understand why now? We all need a lot of courage. And science tells us, by the way, that courage is like a muscle, and it has to be practiced to be strengthened. So wow, what a better time to practice than the coronavirus. This is going to keep us on track with our practice for courage. Most of you know that are on the call that I lost my 6-year-old son at Sandy Hook Elementary School. He was murdered by a former student. However, before he died, he left a message. He wrote a message on our kitchen chalkboard. He wrote 3 words: nurturing, healing, love. And actually, I'm going to turn this around. This is the message. I don't know if you can see it, right? It's on my slideshow. But those words, not in the vernacular of a 6-year-old, obviously phonetically spelled because he was in first grade and just learning to write. Those words are in the definition of compassion across all cultures. And when we broke down the meaning of each of the words, they formed a powerful and profound formula for choosing love. It is a method that can lead you to choosing love in any situation, circumstance, or interaction you will ever face, including, by the way, the coronavirus. So I'm going to show you a picture. I'm just going to turn this around. It's so awkward, right? I'll get this better. This is my first live. Actually, it's my second live. The first live was with Katherine Schwarzenegger Pratt for her book Forgiveness, where we're in a chapter. But here is the formula for choosing love. And so you see that it starts with courage, because courage is the most important character value that underlies all the rest. And let's talk about courage today, and then we'll tick off the others, but we need courage to practice the rest of them anyway. Our definition for courage is the willingness and ability to walk through obstacles despite feeling embarrassment, fear, reluctance, or uncertainty. Bottom line, and this has been our message from the beginning, but there's no more powerful time for it. We all have the ability to choose love over fear. And we have to do this on a daily basis. All of our choices and decisions actually have a foundation based in love or fear. And the choices that we make, actually, the outcomes of them look vastly different, whether we're choosing from a base of love or fear. We have to have some tools, though, to be able to choose love over fear. And we're talking about a really powerful tool today and a skill, and that is courage. So we all know Jesse's story, or at least most of us on here know Jesse's personal story of courage. So when the gunman came into Jesse's room, his gun ran out of bullets. And during the short delay, Jesse called to his friends to run. They said it's why they ran, and he was able to save 9 of his classmates' lives before losing his own. For that act of courage, he was given a commander-in-chief funeral that is reserved for heads of state and returning war heroes. He was considered a war hero because his first grade classroom was a literal war zone. And I talk about that courage because that is the same exact courage that we all have within us. Every single person on this Instagram live, and myself, everyone, we have this courage. Jesse was a 6-year-old little boy. He was a spectacular little boy, but he didn't have anything that we don't all have. But we have to be aware that we have it, and we have to practice it. And science tells us that courage is like a muscle. It has to be practiced to be strengthened. And a lot of things that we do every day require courage, even not in the time of the coronavirus, which requires a whole heck of a lot more courage. But let's think about being kind. It takes courage to be kind when somebody's not being kind to us. It takes courage to tell the truth in certain situations, to do the right thing. You know, and by the way, these aren't kid-centric things, are they? Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, this is also adults. These are kids of all age. We all struggle with this. And so it's just bringing our mindful attention to it today and learning a little bit more about courage. I have my own little personal story about courage. I fly all the time, not anymore. And it's kind of nice to be grounded, I have to admit. But I miss you all, and I'll be back. And we're doing a lot of online things too. So if I can do anything for any of your schools, please let us know. But some of you have heard this courage story before. I'm getting ready to fly from one school district to another, and I'm on a huge plane. We're going overnight, and it's over the longest body of water in the world, the longest flight over water. So we're starting at 4 and I'm going to land at like 6. So we're sitting there. There's tons of people on the plane. It's a huge plane. We're getting ready. And I turn around and there's this cable or something hanging over the wing. Here's a picture of it. Okay. If you guys can see that. So it's hanging over the wing. You see I have my computer propped up on a toilet paper, it's not toilet paper. I don't have enough toilet paper, on a tissue box. Anyway, this cable over the wing. And I'm like, oh my God, somebody's going to say something, right? So no one does. And I can't believe it. I always like to have the window seat, but there are tons of people on the window seat. And so the flight attendants, they buckle themselves in, nobody on the ground, the passengers, we back out, we start going down the runway, and oh my God, I'm sweating. And I'm going, I mean, this flap is not going to be able to go up and down. I can't believe, like, even the pilots are practicing this, you know, they do their things before you take off. And so we were second in line, and I couldn't stand it anymore. I was embarrassed, but I was like, excuse me. I always sit at the back of the plane for some reason, but I was at the window seat, and I'm going, the flight attendants are all strapped in. I'm like, there's something wrong with the wing of the plane. And you know what you're going to get. Oh my God. They come up, they go, what is it? And I said, there is something on the wing of the plane. And she was like, what is it? And she looks out, she goes, you're right. She goes, I'm going to call the pilot. She calls the pilot, plane stops, disgruntled pilot, clearly disgruntled, walks down the aisle, silently looks out the window, turns around, walks back, whole plane turns around. And then you hear, somebody saw something on the wing, ladies and gentlemen, and your safety is our biggest concern. So we're going to have to check it out. It's probably nothing. And by the way, if you have connections that you're trying to make, you're probably going to miss them. So I'm going, oh my God, I can't believe I said something. Oh no. So we turn around, we go back into the slot. These guys come over with all this machinery. They're taking this cable off. You know, they have no idea what it is. And about 20 minutes later, the pilot and the flight attendant walk down the aisle, and they go, who's the person that raised their hand? There's like hundreds of people on this plane. And I'm like, I did. And they came up to me and they said, the flight attendant said, thank you so much for saying something about that. She said, it's my birthday today, and I wanted to live to see another birthday. So thank you. And then, and I say that because then tons of people in front of me along the window and people behind me got up, and they turned to me and they literally said, thank God that you said something, because we didn't have the courage to say anything. And I was like, I was thinking first, like the first thought that went through my head is like, oh my God, so people did see that. They have the same thought that I did. Like, we might die going overnight over the largest body of water, and they didn't have the courage to say anything. And then I thought, wait a minute. I talk about the power of courage and how important it is. And I almost didn't have the courage to say anything. So when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about it with you in full humility as something that I have to practice every single day. But it's just kind of telling you how important it is and how we really need to be mindful of it, because you know what? It could save our lives. And if you think about the neuroscience of courage, okay, courage is so important because what it does is it enables us to use our prefrontal cortex, where logic and reason reside, to make decisions from. If we get upset, right, and anxious, and we lose control, we're making decisions from our mammalian and reptilian brain. And by the way, if it's life or death, then that's where we want to be, right? But day to day, we want to be making decisions, especially smart decisions, especially in the time of the coronavirus. People who are watching this, you're most likely in your homes with your families. Most likely you're safe. We want to be making decisions not from freeze, fight, or flight, but from our prefrontal cortex. We want to be making decisions based more rationally, right, than emotionally. And so that's what courage helps us to do. That is a quick neuroscience of it. Now, even in the best of times, we have fear. We have fearful thoughts, right? And actually, the majority of our thoughts are negative and repetitive. I've talked about this a lot, and we have a lot of fearful thoughts every day. And those fearful thoughts that go through our heads, the majority of which don't happen. You know why? Because we're going through worst case scenarios, right? We're going through what could happen in an attempt to prepare. But let me tell you something, when the worst case scenario happens, you're not going to be prepared for it. And I can tell you that because I know from personal experience. I'm not saying don't be prepared. You should be prepared. But what I'm saying is that I just want you to be mindful of the thoughts that go through your head, because the majority are negative and repetitive, a lot of those fearful, and a lot of them don't serve you. It's our negative bias that's wired into our DNA. You can say, thank you so much, negative bias. I know that you're there to keep me safe, and I appreciate you so much. Hey, I got this. I'm practicing my courage, right? And one of the ways that we can do that is through modeling. I'm going to talk about modeling for a little bit because I think it's vitally important that we remember, parents, if you're watching, educators, we're the models for how our kids are going to handle discomfort all the way up to future tragedies, traumas, pandemics. If anything like this ever happens again, they're looking at us right now, and they are learning, and not so much from what we say, but from what we do. And I realized this following my own personal tragedy when I lost Jesse, and JT at the time was 12 years old. And I remember actually being at the firehouse before we even, that's located at the cul-de-sac, the school's at the other end. And before we even knew that Jesse was dead, I started looking at JT looking at me, and I knew that I was modeling for him in the moment how to handle difficulty, challenges, roadblocks, all the way up to trauma and suffering for the rest of his life, right there in that moment. And I knew that I would have to rise to the occasion. And guess what? I did. And you can. It takes courage, and it takes mindful awareness of that. But you're in that moment right now for your kids, and you need to rise to the occasion. But let me tell you the benefit that it does for you. Just having this awareness and knowing that you need to model for them is going to help you rise to the occasion and help you be the best that you can be. It helped me, and I know that it can help you. Modeling everything that comes out of your mouth, but not just that, more so the things that you do, you're modeling for your kids, and that's how they're going to handle difficulty going forward. Just remember that. And while you're doing that, remember that you're going to make mistakes. Oh, I'm talking about myself here. If JT were here, he'd be like, yep, that's her, big mistakes. You're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. In fact, if you never got out of your comfort zone, you would never grow as a human being. That's how we grow. Now, guess what? Nature has done half of that for us. We're all out of our comfort zones right now. So we're all growing. Actually, we're either languishing right now or we're flourishing. And right now, I want you to make the courageous decision that you're going to be flourishing. You're going to be flourishing. I am going to be flourishing, and you're going to be flourishing. And you know what? We do that with every single thought that goes through our heads. Every single thought of the 50 to 70,000 thoughts in a normal world that go through our head, 70 to 80% are negative and over 90% are repetitive. That's in a normal world. So today, I have no idea. But the one thing that we can control, we can't always control everything that happens to us. Oh boy, is that an obvious statement? We can't control the coronavirus. We can control sanitation and things like that, but we can't control what's going on in the world. But we can control our thoughtful response to it. And that starts right here with every thought that we think. Every thought that we think is leading us towards languishing or flourishing. So you choose those flourishing thoughts. Do this with me. We're going to do it together. And then remember, you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. Because guess what? Mistakes are how we grow. And it's so cool to understand the neuroscience behind mistakes, because every time we make a mistake, our brain gets bigger. It's pretty cool. There are new neural pathways that are forming, and we're learning things. And it's changed after a mistake because we've learned
and we've grown. Do not be afraid of mistakes. It takes courage not to be afraid of mistakes. Don't be afraid of making them, because you're going to, and that's okay. So what does courage look like every day? You know, courage looks like vulnerability. It looks like being honest with your kids to a certain degree, age appropriately, right? But not lying to them, right? Being honest with them. They'll know if you're not being truthful, and being honest with one another, and actually telling people what you feel about them. You know, I love you. Say that. I used to never say that, and I say it now. And I want to say it, and I initiate it. I never initiated it before, but I do now. So being vulnerable, sharing how you feel with people. Vulnerability cultivates trust and connection. And a lot of times when I get up in front of audiences, I've never met people before, but I'm vulnerable. I'm sharing my story, and I'm being honest and authentic, and people realize that, and they trust what I have to say, and I appreciate that. And that's how I've gotten so many wonderful relationships all across the country and world. I appreciate that, and it's through vulnerability, period. It means listening. We talked about listening before. Courage means listening to hear and not respond. It means caring. Kindness is so vitally important. Kindness, but there's an extension to kindness that sometimes we don't think about, and that is actually caring. We can do acts of kindness all day long, and sometimes we do the acts of kindness to get an award. We have a week of kindness, which is great, but it's project based. But there's something more to really caring, and we're seeing so much of that, and that is true courage, when you actually take that kindness to the next level and be caring. Being available takes courage. I always like to schedule things, you know, because I feel like so much of my time is given, but being available is really important. Obviously, practicing the rest of the character value, which we're going to get into, being grateful. So important to be grateful. And we can only focus on one thought at a time. So we can only focus on either fear, anxiety, anger, or gratitude. And then, of course, stepping outside of our comfort zone and helping others. That is compassion in action. And there's so many benefits. I realize I've run over, but that's me, right? So if you guys are willing to stay with me for a few more minutes, it's not going to surprise anybody that knows me. There's so many scientific benefits to courage, so many. And this is practicing courage, because we're all practicing it every day. So let me tell you a couple of the benefits of courage, and these are scientifically proven. Courage is confidence. This will give you greater confidence. It creates a sense of leadership. It enables us to be upstanders rather than bystanders that stand around and watch bad things happen. It helps us feel good. Ultimately, we're looking for that now. Helps us master our emotions. We need to do that now. It helps us accomplish things and make good choices. It helps us overcome fear. That's a big one. Helps us find balance in our lives and make priorities. And of course, when I'm in schools, I always talk about the fact that it helps us overcome bullying. So you guys want to do a brave breath with me right now? Brave breath is the kids' favorite thing in our whole program, and it's a really important part of creating that space between stimulus and response, the space between when something happens and our response to it. And it's the difference between having a thoughtful response and taking our personal power back, and reacting off the cuff, right? When we're reacting from our lower brain and not our prefrontal cortex. So let's all do the brave breath together. Okay. So I see everybody stayed with me. I'm in my office right now. Okay. I'm going to prop this up. All right. Now, okay. I want you to put one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly, and I want you to sit up straight with both feet on the floor. And I want you, in order to prepare, I want you to roll your shoulders up and back, right? So we're standing up. I mean, we're actually sitting up straight. You can be standing too. And I want you to let your tongue drop from the roof of your mouth. Just let it drop from the roof of your mouth. How did I know it was there? Because that's what we do when we're anxious, right? We suck our tongue up there. But when you release that tongue from the roof of your mouth, it's signaling your brain that you are safe and that you can relax. And the other way to do that is to curve the corners of your mouth up into a smile, right? When we do that, we're also signaling our brain that we're safe, okay? And that we're happy. And we start that good flow of those feel-good neurochemicals like dopamine that help us with learning and memory, but it's also feeling good, and also oxytocin that helps us connect. It's called the love hormone. So, all right, so we've got our hand on our heart. We have our hand on our heart because we're calling in bravery and courage and love. We have our hand on our belly because when we breathe, we're going to breathe in and out through our belly like a balloon. And then we're going to do what actually the Navy SEALs call box breathing. So they do this breathing when they're going on really important missions. And this is what we also call the brave breath. This creates the space between what happens to us and our thoughtful response. Okay, so we're going to take 4 breaths in the count of 4 through our nose. We're going to hold for 4, and we're going to breathe out through our mouth for 4, and then we're going to hold for 4. And I'm going to walk us through. We're going to do it 3 times. Check in with yourself how you feel right now. I'm sure you feel really good because we've been together for 30 minutes. Just kidding. But kind of check in with your body, how you feel, and then I want you to do another check-in afterwards. Okay, so let's start. Feet flat on the floor, tongue release, smile on your face. Okay, so I want you to take 4 count in breath through your nose. Ready? Breathe in, courage and bravery. 3, 4, hold. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out stress and anxiety. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Breathe in courage and bravery. 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out stress and anxiety. 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Breathe in through your nose, courage and bravery. 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out stress and anxiety. Let it go. 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Now, how did that feel? Let's see by a show of hearts. Did that feel good? Yeah, that felt really good. Lots of waves. So we can also, we want to realize that everything that we're putting out, all the nurturing, healing love that we're putting out in the world, we're getting back. This creates a ripple effect. When we can practice courage in our lives, it makes a huge difference. In fact, there's an ancient philosopher, and I love this quote: the secret to happiness is freedom. And the secret to freedom is courage. And that's what helps us get there. So your assignment is to find micro moments of joy every day. Micro moments of joy were coined, I believe, by Dr. Tom Krasinski. He was on my board of directors. He's a positive psychology professor at Quinnipiac University. Micro moments of joy. They exist every single day, even during the time of the coronavirus. But it's up to us. We have to find them. And a lot of times, well, definitely, if we're in fear-based thinking, we're not going to see micro moments of joy. But if we are choosing love, that's when micro moments of joy start popping up in our lives all over the place. And I can tell you, I had several this morning. My coffee that I put MCT oil and cinnamon and a little bit of organic milk. Ooh, that was a micro moment of joy for me. Going outside and seeing the flowers popping up in my garden and seeing how they're actually spreading year to year, that was a huge micro moment of joy for me. Going out and finding eggs in my chicken coop, micro moment of joy. And then when you find them, you look at them and you savor that moment and you think, wow, the colors. And these came out of chickens, and I'm able to just go outside and get them out of my coop. wow, right? Savor it for as long as possible. That's a micro moment of joy. And you can share that with other people as well. So that is your assignment. Until next week, please keep in touch with us. We had a great newsletter go out today to parents, caregivers, and educators with lots of links. I love you guys. Thank you so much for choosing love. And until next time, we will be focusing on gratitude in our next Power Hour with Scarlett. But I love you guys so much, and be safe. Courage. Thank you guys. I love all of you. I really do. Thank you for choosing love. Thank you for making the movement a success. Thank you for bringing it to all your schools, homes, and communities. Thank you for bringing it to places that I never even thought that it could be in. I never even thought of. You guys are amazing. Thank you. I have so much gratitude for each and every one of you. You guys are what make the Choose Love movement exist and go forward and be able to serve so many people. Everything that we do, our programs for homes, schools, and communities are free. And this is because they have to be free, because knowing these skills and tools, we know so much through the latest scientific research in neuroscience. We know that they are a basic human right. We just know too much, and no child can be priced out of the market. And actually, Jessie was technically priced out of the market because Sandy Hook didn't have funds to train the teachers. So I thought, wow, the program never got out of the box at Sandy Hook Elementary School. We need to do better than that. And so I went to the drawing board, created a program, and everything is free. So thank you so much. You guys all on here support that. You are part of a movement that is spreading this message all over the world. You are a vital part of it. I am so grateful for you guys. Our latest is that we're releasing a Choose Love for the Workplace program. We just had, we had actually released it with the Department of Safety in New Hampshire. And then of course, in-person gatherings stopped. So now we are going to be releasing an online version. And this is something that is going to provide an income stream to the Choose Love movement. So if you know anyone that wants to do some professional development, someone who owns a business, or even an employee, we're not going to be charging a lot of money, but all of that money is going to go back into the foundation and turn right back around to support our free programming in schools, homes, and communities. So we're all working together now to serve, to make the world a safer, more peaceful, and loving place. I know right now school safety isn't the top of everybody's mind because schools aren't in session, but the problems that underlied all of the school safety issues did not go away. They're still there. And actually that was our new normal. We had one school-related shooting per week. In fact, 2019 was the deadliest year on record for school shootings. I don't know if you all knew that. I wasn't even aware of it until I was a part of a yearbook project. And so those issues still exist. And of course, you can run around all you want and address the problems and focus on the problems, but unless you address the cause of the issues, you cannot be talking about a solution. And that's what we do with the Jessie Lewis Choose Love movement. We address the cause, and it is not just the cause of school violence and bullying. It is the cause of a lot of the substance abuse that we see. It's a lot of cause of mental illness. It is a lot of cause of suicide. All of these issues, which by the way, unfortunately are getting worse, not better. And that's because we're focusing on the issues. And when you focus on something, they grow. And you can address the issues all you want, but unless you're addressing the cause, you are not talking about a solution. And you have to be proactive and preventative in order to do that. And that's exactly what our focus is at the Jessie Lewis Choose Love movement: proactive and preventative education. And when you do that, you can actually reduce and prevent the suffering that leads to these issues before it even happens in many cases. So that is our goal. The old way of doing things hopefully is going to be gone. The reacting out of fear. Of course, we are wired with a negative bias, and we only have so many resources. So we wait until there's issues and then we focus on the issues. But however, doing the same thing over and over does not give us a different result. We really need to be proactive and preventative. And so that's our focus. Aloha from Hawaii. Choose aloha. Oh, Hawaii. I love that you joined. Thank you so much. You did a crossover in a Hawaiian language. That is awesome. Oh my gosh. Kelly and Dawn, our Hawaii state ambassadors, are going to be out of their minds with excitement. That is so incredible. So people are taking the programming and translating it into many different languages, and it is so exciting. I'm just so thrilled. Thank you so much. I love you all, and I will see you next time. Thanks for choosing love.